Hello, Learn to Draw and Paint class. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed last week's Learn to Draw and Paint class where you guys learned how to paint tulips using acrylic paint or tempera paint, whatever you have at home. Remember, I'm going to try my best to think of materials that you have at home. I hope you did enjoy my Learn to Draw and Paint tulips from my video last week. So this week we're going to try something a little different, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are continuing to stay safe, stay clean, and stay healthy, and hopefully having a good time at home with your families and learning some new things along the way. So for today, I thought we would focus on chalk. Now I have these fancy compressed chalk. These you can find at a craft store. I don't know if they have them at Walmart necessarily, but what you can also use is regular sidewalk chalk. So I feel like a lot of families have sidewalk chalk. If you don't, I apologize for just assuming that, but I feel like a lot of kiddos love sidewalk chalk, so if you have some around the house, great. If not, maybe go out and get some, but I don't recommend going out if you don't want to. But these are a lot cheaper than buying these. These you will get more vibrant colors. Sorry, I just don't want the whole thing to fall. These you will get a more vibrant color, but like I said, these might be a little bit more expensive, but they are more vibrant. But these are just fine. These are great, and they work the best on black paper. So I'm going to show you some tips, tricks, and techniques using chalk on especially black paper. I love doing chalk on black paper. I think it really makes the chalk pop, and it's easier to see what you're doing while you're drawing with chalk. So I'm going to turn the camera onto my table right here. So just give me a second. Excuse the mess. I am sorry for my messy room. Oops. Sorry, I'm timing this video so I don't run out of time and leave you guys hanging with questions and not finished product. So I'm timing myself so I don't run out of time. So let's get started. First off, I'm just going to show you how to do basic shapes first. So what you can do, I'm going to use some sidewalk chalk just to show you that sidewalk chalk works just as well. So what I did was I made some shapes just out of regular paper or construction paper. If you don't have construction paper, you could just use white paper. Works just fine. And then just lay it on your black piece of paper. You could also tape it. I recommend if you need it to be a little bit more stable, go ahead and tape it. Or I recommend doing it face down. So if you did it folding like I did, and it's kind of curving inward, just lay that part down so that way you could draw on that side, but it's up to you. So I'm going to show you using the heart. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape, and then I'm going to press that down, and then choose your chalk. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to make a line. So half of your chalk is going to be, or the tip of your chalk is going to be on the heart, and half of it is going to be on the black, because we want it on both, so that way we get that nice crisp line of our shape. So it's going to be right on the edge of our heart, so right on this edge, and then go all the way around. So there we go. I did half of my heart. So I'm just going to put this chalk back, and I'm going to show you using another piece of chalk just to show you. So here's a nice bright green one. And when using these kinds of chalks, it's a little harder to use these just because you have to find the right angle on which the chalk likes to come off on. Because if you draw flat, sometimes it doesn't like to come off all the way, especially if you were working straight on the flat side. But if you work again on the tip and then work your way into that chalk, really pressing down, then you're gonna get the most out of it. There we go, I'm just turning my paper so that way you can see. Going all the way around. There we go. Oops. Okay. Now chalk is very messy, so just forewarning you, you and parents, if you're watching, that chalk is very messy. It will get everywhere. And so just be mindful of that. If you don't want to rub into the chalk accidentally and accidentally smear, what you can do is take a paper towel and place it on your chalk, or better yet, if you don't want to waste paper towels, you could always use another sheet of paper as a surface where your hand can rest. But also a way to keep your chalk from smearing accidentally by like a swipe of your hand, or a pet getting all over you, like a little dog seeing what you're doing. If they accidentally swipe their paw on your artwork, I wouldn't want that to happen. So to keep your chalk safe, just cover it with a piece of paper. That way you're not smearing anything. So that way it stays safe. So I'm just gonna push it off onto my star so I don't get my star all messed up. So next what you're gonna do is just take a finger. If you don't want to use your finger, you could always use paper towels too. I just don't want you to be wasteful with those during this time. But you can use a paper towel or your finger. I'm just gonna use my finger because I like to get a little bit messy while I work. And I just want you to brush the chalk. So I'm using my finger and I'm swiping up, not swiping down, because that's just gonna rip our heart off our piece of paper. Now while you're swiping, I want you to keep your hand on the paper that you're trying to outline, so that way it doesn't come up, and that way you're working around and out. So around the heart, and I'm brushing out. So I'm gonna turn, whoops, just dropped my tape. Turn the paper, make sure my heart, or my star is covered, and then I'm just gonna work this way. Go. Gonna turn it the other way now. There we go. So this one I just did with sidewalk chalk, and I did the same color. Now when I reveal this one, there we go. Oh, you might have to remove it a little easier. And there you go. I used 2 different colors on this heart just to show you that you can get very colorful with it. And if you get some chalk on the inside, that's okay. Just wipe it off with a paper towel. I recommend keeping a paper towel handy so that way you have something to wipe your hands with. If you want to wet it a little bit with some water, that'd be great too. I'm gonna wet mine with some water. There we go. So I wet my paper towel with some water so that way I could clean off my hands a little bit easier. Oh, but I got some on my paper. So that's one way of starting a chalk drawing. But just be wary, chalk drawings can get messy. Now I'm gonna show you this next one because I think it is super duper cool and I really like this project. So this one is a Aurora Borealis one that I did with my students. a little while ago. Now they had a fun time with this one, and all we did was we did this using a green chalk pastel, and we brushed it across the bottom. We made our little mountains, and then just using streaks, we just did lines using the side of our chalk. I like using the sides of chalk because that's where you get a little bit bigger of a streak, whereas this one you only get a little bit, or a little. So instead of doing it like this, you could also work like this. You just have to push a little harder when you're doing something like this. You have to really push into it to get that chalk, because there's something coated on the edges on chalk pastels. Not so much sidewalk chalk. Sidewalk chalk, you could really use the sides, you could use the tip, you could use them any way you want. But for the chalk pastels, you really have to work, kind of like work into them. There we go. Oop, but be careful, you can break them, just like I did. Oopsies. So you could use the sides, you can use the tips, just depending on what line you want to make is going to be a different way of holding your chalk. So if you want to make a thick, lightly brushed line, you're going to do it that way. But if you want to make it more sharp and more of a line, you're going to use the tip. So you can use the sides or the tip. Now, for the Aurora Borealis, what we did was we did lines and a little bit of a side. So you could see where I did my line, and then I used the side of the chalk to give it more of a light surface look. Like it's kind of like, almost like brushed on there. And then what we did was we took our hand and we just swiped up to kind of make that, glow look on our Aurora Borealis. So Aurora Borealis is just a fancy word for saying northern lights. Or you could say northern lights. Doesn't matter. People know what you mean. It's just other people call it Aurora Borealis, or that's a scientific term. And then what we did was we used just white paint to make these little dots to make stars, because we're looking at the sky when we're looking at the northern lights. So that's just another way you can do chalk, is swiping. You could just make images by brushing the chalk, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you another thing. So chalks are really good for landscapes too, if you want to do a landscape. Just remember, while you're working, you keep some part of it covered. So while I was teaching my kiddos how to make this, oops, there's lines on that side, I had them cover their mountain, so that way they didn't get chalk on their, or different colored chalk on their mountain, or accidentally smear their mountains. So I'm going to show you guys a different way you could do this. So you could do stuff that's abstract, you could do stuff using shapes, there's so many different projects out there. You might just have to do some research, but you could also just get really creative with it. I'm going to show you one that's just a little abstract, just using some different patterns, using sidewalk chalk and some black paper. So I'm just going to start at this corner. Sorry. I'm going to start at this corner. There we go. So there we go. Now I'm going to take a different color and I'm going to go right alongside that swirl. So I just made like a little swirl. I'm going to go on the inside. Now using a different color, I'm going to use blue. Oh, this one's better. It's got a little bit of a point. So I'm going to start on the inside now. Then I'm going to work my way out. And then I'm going to go, instead of going around my whole thing that I just drew, I'm gonna go off into a different direction and make another little swirl. There you go. Now, like I said, if you don't want things to get smeared, cover it with some paper. Or, while you're working, you could also, this is mostly used when you're finished. You could cover it with hairspray. This is just regular generic hairspray. Or if you want to get fancy, you could get low odor, clear finish matte spray. And what I mean by matte, it's not glossy. So this one is actually covered in this matte spray. So it doesn't give it a gloss shiny look, it just gives it how it looks. It's just like a light coating, and it's not glossy. There are some things that are glossy, and if you want that shine, that's fine. It'll just be a little shinier, a little fancier. But if you want to just stay a little bit basic and use stuff that you have around the house, you can use your hairspray in order to coat your chalk after you are completely finished with it. So, I'm gonna keep working on that blue swirl. I'm gonna go in. Gonna go on the outside. Now I think I'm gonna take this, and I'm actually gonna go on the inside of that blue. There we go. I'm gonna go all the way back in to this guy. So while you're drawing with chalk, if it helps, try to keep your hand off of the table and draw as you're like lightly hovering over the paper. Now it may be hard, so just try your best. And try not to slide your paper while your hand is on here, because then you're just gonna smear your chalk as well. So that's why I took this off and just tried freehanding it. Freehanding means you don't have a guide, or you're trying to kind of like eyeball it, trying your best without messing it up. Now the reason why I like chalk is you could always make lines thicker or thinner, and you could add different layers to things. So chalk is a good medium for some different things if you want to try new things. So that's why I decided to do chalk today, so that way I show you something a little bit different. Something that you may have at home. I don't know if you have chalk at home, but it's just something different other than painting like we did last week. So I wanted to just switch gears and try some chalk with you guys. So I'm gonna try using the fancy chalk now. And I'm gonna work on this side of the paper. Now, I'm gonna start from here. And you could do whatever. You can make this abstract if you want. You don't have to follow me. Like I said, you have to get a feel for chalk pastels. I'm not liking this. There we go. I'm gonna go to blue next. I'm gonna start on the inside now. Sorry. I accidentally broke a little bit of my chalk off. I pressed a little too hard. Now I really like this blue, this nice dark blue against that black. Really makes that blue pop, so that's why I love, again, working on black paper with chalk. It's just so pretty. And you can make so many things I'm gonna go with some green now. Inside or on top of that orange. And then I'm gonna follow my line right into that center little swirl. So see how cool this is looking? I hope you guys think this is cool, because I think this is cool. Now I'm just gonna change it up, go back to my chalk. Like I said, if you're using sidewalk chalk, that's fine. Just work with what you have. Don't want you guys spending a fortune on art supplies, because that's why you guys come here. But I understand we're not allowed to see each other at the moment, so it's sad. There we go. So I'm going on the inside of this swirl, and I'm going out into that corner again. Now this time, I think I'm gonna work on the outside of the swirl, so on the other side of that green. And then what you could do is you can make a whole nother swirl. So see, I didn't follow that line back into this guy. I made my own. So I went over, made my own little swirl, kind of on the other side. So that's the good thing about swirls. You could always branch out and make them swirl into a different direction. So that's the cool thing about swirls. I'm gonna add a little bit of a dark pink to the outside of the sky. And if you're getting fingerprints or little smudgies everywhere, just go ahead, give your fingers a good wipe, and then try your best to just rub this off, because it will get fingerprinty over time, especially if you're not working with a piece of paper on top like I'm supposed to. But it helps you see the big picture too. So that's why I like working with a piece of paper, but I also don't, because you don't get to see the big picture. So I'm gonna go back onto this side. So I'm gonna scooch this over so that way you can see. So I'm gonna work on this side right here now. I'm going back and forth as I'm working, just so I can create my own image, my own little swirls here and there. So I'm gonna bring this guy. So I'm gonna start in my corner again, where these two lines are. If you need to double line it, go ahead, just trace your swirl back in there. I'm just going back and forth over that line to make it thicker. There we go. I love that blue. That is a gorgeous blue. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go back to my sidewalk chalk. I'm gonna add that light green that I have, or actually no. I'm gonna go yellow. Yeah, this is supposed to be yellow, but it's a very pastel yellow. I'm going on the outside of my blue. Now, if the paper cuts off on you, that's okay. You're just gonna follow the edge of that blue where it continues again. Ooh, and that blue is kind of mixing in with that yellow. I kind of like that. And if you get some dusties, you could always blow it off. I am liking this. This turned out great. Now let's see. Now, where do you think I can add another one? Think about where you could add some more or some smaller ones. So this one, I started off really big, but now as I'm running out of room on my piece of paper, my swirls are getting a little bit smaller and a little bit tighter. So what I mean by tighter, like the swirl is winding in a little further than the big one is. So let's see, I'm gonna start in this little corner right here where these two guys meet. There we go. So what other color should I use? I have not used red. I'm gonna use red. So I'm gonna go on the inside of this guy, or the left side, and wrap around. That looks very powerful right there. And then I think I'm gonna do a hot pink. That's a very nice hot pink right there. I lost my paper. So again, I'm gonna cover that up just so it doesn't get messy. I'm gonna go on the left side of my red now. And then go in there. There we go. And you could keep doing this until you get bored or run out of room. There is really no way you need to stop or discontinue unless you get bored or run out of room. So I'm just continuously going. This can be very relaxing, I feel like. You're just, you know, making your swirls. Everything's great. Especially with some music on. Go. Ooh, I found this like lavender. That's a nice lavender. Let's see, where can I add another one? I'm gonna do one right here. Hope you guys could see that. Oh, move that so you could see. No, I don't like that. So if you don't like something or mess up, you could always use that wet rag that you have and wipe it away. Your paper will be slightly wet, but let it dry for a second, and then you can work on the chalk again. So that marks, you could still see it a little bit, that mark that I made, but not as much. But you could always erase your chalk for the most part. Ooh, I love that lavender. There we go. I might do some white. Here's some white. Ooh, that white really pops. Gonna do it on the inside and the outside. That looks nice. I'm liking this. This is fun. Whoops. Remember, if you're blowing, don't blow it into someone's face. That's mean. So be careful where you're blowing your chalk. Make sure it's not getting all over the place and making a huge mess for your parents' kiddos, because I don't want them to be mad at you. You want to get into the spaces where you have that. Like I said, this piece of paper towel is slightly wet. It's not damp. It's just like well, I mean, it is a little damp, but it's not like soaking wet. And you're just gonna take that and rub away the extra chalk that you see lying around. And there you go. You have a fun little abstract piece right here using some chalk that you might have at home. So I hope you enjoyed that one. And then what I'm gonna do when I finish is I'm gonna spray it with some hairspray. Now, hold your breath when you do this, or have an adult do this. I don't want you guys to inhale this, but this is just hairspray. It helps keep the chalk sticking to the piece of paper. Give a good amount, because it will dry. There we go. Beautiful. So it kind of got my colors a little damp, but when it dries, that'll dry up and those colors will come back a little bit more. Or if you want, you could go back with the colors that you got washed away a little bit, and you could, well, when it's dry, and you could go back and add more on top of this hairspray or not. It's up to you. So I hope you enjoyed that one, because I did. Now I'm going to show you a different little chalk, or another way of drawing chalk on black paper. Sorry, I'm having trouble saying chalk. Getting tongue-tied a little bit here. So there's a way to kind of blend your chalk. Kind of like my Aurora Borealis that I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to make kind of a quick little sunset for you. Just using some sidewalk chalk. So I'm going to start light and then go dark. So I'm going to leave about a couple inches of paper just dark, because I'm going to do something else at the bottom. So I'm going to leave about 2 inches maybe on the left side, having your paper horizontally, so this way, not vertically. Or you could do it vertically, because that's how I'm gonna end up doing it. So if you want to measure this way, you can. So leave about 2 inches of your black paper all black. And then if you want, if you accidentally go over it, you could always add more black chalk to that, or charcoal even if you have some charcoal. So I'm gonna start light to dark, because it's gonna be a sunset. So when the sun is setting on our horizon line, the sun is technically gonna be right here, or even below that, and it's gonna be bright, bright, bright. So we're gonna pick a bright color, so you could use yellow, you could use orange, whichever you feel like. You could even use red if you feel like it. I'm gonna stick with yellow. And I'm not gonna have the sun here, I'm gonna kind of do a picture where the sun has already set and you're no longer seeing the sun. It's just kind of like that moment of twilight. It's kind of like a twilight zone. So I'm just gonna go ahead, take your chalk or sidewalk chalk. Here, I'm gonna do sidewalk chalk. Go ahead and give yourself a nice little line. And I'm just continuously covering that, and it's the length of my chalk. I'm just doing a little strip that's about 2.5, 3 inches of just yellow. So next, I'm gonna go to orange. So kind of think like a reverse rainbow, where it's red, orange, yellow. This way, I'm doing, oops, yellow, orange, and then red, or in this case, pink. I have like a pink. And then if you want, you could add like a dark blue. So at a little section at the top, maybe give yourself an inch for that dark color. And go ahead and using like a blue piece of chalk or dark, I like a darker blue for this one, but you could use like a lighter blue. Just like that. So there you go, you kind of got like a little ombre sunset right there. Now it's looking a little fuzzy looking. If you don't like that, what you can do is take a piece of paper towel or your hand. So I'm just gonna use my hand. And what you're gonna do is gently, using your fingers, brush it out. Kind of give it that fade look. And it's kind of working the chalk into the paper. So next I'm gonna go into my orange. And these colors are a little bit on the pastel side, so they're not making the colors I want, so I might have to go in with other colors to make it a little bit darker. So using the actual chalk pastels, because these are too light of colors. I was hoping for a little bit darker, but you know what? It still looks good. So for example, here's like some orange. Work some orange into there. Fade it out a little bit. If you want a little bit more red or that pink, go ahead and a little bit more pink. And if you want more color than like fading it out, just leave it be. Use that side, kind of brush it in there, or scrape it in there, and then just leave it. So if you don't want to fade it out into the paper, just leave it like that, and that'll be fine. You could overwork it into the paper, but if so, you just add that color that you want on top of it. It's kind of like a background layer, if you will. And then to get more of that ombre, try mixing a little bit more in between. So where you see those lines of separation, where one color just switches to a different color, try to add those colors on top of each other, back and forth, to kind of get that fade look. So I'm gonna go back into the pink, back into that orange, get that fade look. Maybe rub with my fingers just a little bit. All right. Then what we can do is, using your wet paper towel, kind of clean up that bottom edge, because we do want that part black. But now what I'm going to show you how to draw is a tree. It's a couple little trees, and maybe even a little deer. So we're gonna make this into like a forest scene. You don't have to make it into a forest scene. Say you want to make it into an ocean scene, that's fine. Add some blue at the bottom if you want. Make a palm tree. You could do that as well. It's up to you, it's your piece. I'm just gonna show you some ideas that I have, but if you have something totally different, go for it. Or I might show you how to draw a palm tree and a regular pine tree. But I'm gonna do a pine tree just to show you. So I'm gonna start in the middle of my paper, and I'm gonna go down on one side another. Kind of making like a little mountain or a little triangle. But I'm not gonna cut it off to make it a full triangle. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Now what you could do is that all I'm doing is making little wispy lines that are curved or straight down. So you can make them a little wispy by curving upward, or you could just go straight down. I'm gonna do kind of just gonna make straight lines going down for the bottom. And then if you want to fully get into that bottom area, you can. Just extend those lines. And then color it in. So color that whole tree in. So it's going to be a lot of black right here. Now if you're going too hard with the chalk, you're going to get these little piles of leftover chalk here and there. So just blow it away or brush it off, or even just tap your paper to get it on the table so that way you're not blowing it everywhere. That's another way of doing it, to get it just off your paper. So that way it's just not in the way. If you want, you could go back to the top, make some more like wispy lines. Just like that. So that's one way to do like a pine tree. If you want to make like a little stump, go ahead. So I kind of made like a little tree stump. If you want, you could do a tree right next to it. So do like I showed you up there, but a little bit lower. So you're gonna make a line connecting to that other tree. Then you're gonna do a line out. And then you're gonna do, since there's lines over here, you can leave those lines alone. So we're just doing little wispy lines, or downward looking lines on this side. Then straight down lines right here. Just little tick marks, if you will, of lines. If you want your top to be a little bit more liney, you could add more lines up there. And then go ahead, color that tree in. I'm just using the side. Oh, but look, I have some chalk on my palm, so just be careful on where your chalk is ending up. It could end up on your sleeves or on your clothes, so don't work anything nice when you're making art, because it will get all dirty. Make a little stump. Now right here, you could leave just blank, and you could actually have it finished right now if you wanted to. But I'm gonna do, I don't know, a deer. I think I'm gonna do a deer. So a deer is a little bit more complex, but I think you guys can do it, or at least try. So try drawing a deer. If you want to do it in pencil first, you can. I'll show you guys in pencil, and then I'll show you guys in the chalk as well. So with your pencil, this is going to be the head. And then you're going to do two little ovals on the side for the ears. And they have like points on the end of their ears, so make those little points so that they are pointy. And if you want to make it a deer with antlers, go ahead, you can make little antlers. I'm just doing very simple antlers. You don't have to, you could get fancy with them if you want. You could add like little tick marks here and there to make them like very full antlers. Then I'm gonna do a line here. So I'm going down at the bottom of that oval to make a line for the neck. It's a diagonal line. Then I'm gonna go a little above on the side of my circle or oval. Then I'm gonna do another line. And there's my neck. I may have drew it a little bit lower than I should have. So then I'm gonna do a body. So I'm gonna make like an oval. Draw a nice little oval right here, connecting to my neck. Then go ahead and draw the legs. They're kind of like lines straight down. If you want to make one diagonal, make like he's stepping, you could do that. For the back legs are a little trickier. Kind of got like a little swoop going on. And then you make your straight line. So back legs for deers are tricky, so try your best with that. I made like an oval on the back end of my deer. And then I made these two swoopy lines right underneath my big oval for the body. And I did two little swoopy lines going that way. So I did swoop, swoop, and then I went straight down to make my hind leg. Because they have weird back leg. They have like hind legs. Kind of like dogs, but a little different. And then go ahead and give them a little wispy tail. So I'm gonna show you in the charcoal now, so that way you could see it a little bit better. So circle, ear, ear, oops. Going on to the antlers now. If you don't want antlers, that's fine. Mine kind of look a little weird. That's okay. Antlers are weird looking objects. Ooh, these are bad antlers. Neck. So 2 lines for the neck. An oval for the body. Gonna do a line down for one of the legs. Ooh, my chalk is not liking this. Another line down for the legs. And then I'm gonna do a circle back here for the hind legs. And then I'm gonna go swoop, swoop. You can't really see my swoops. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. All right, and then I'm gonna go down and down on an angle. And there you go. Then give them a little tail. And then color them in. Wherever you didn't color that deer in. My deer is very bad, I feel like, but that's just me, that's my opinion. I don't like my deer, so if you find a better way of drawing one, go for it. There we go. Well, and it's got those pencil marks, so that didn't help. So I recommend maybe not doing it with pencil. Now, your hand got all black from using all that black, so give your hand a good wipe. And then give your paper a little wipe. And then if you feel like you're done, go ahead. Give it a coat of hairspray. Like I said, this will dry. See how it's reacting to the paper, or the paper's reacting, it's not liking it. It's like, oh, I'm getting wet. But it will dry, it will dry. See? This one's already dry. My colors have popped back a little bit. So if it gets a little too wet, that's fine. Just leave it alone. Stop spraying and then give it a second to dry. And if it needs more in some places, go back with your hairspray and coat some more areas. So I think I might do a little bit more in the middle. Here we go. Yep. Very good. Alrighty. And there you go. You have kind of like a landscape scene. I like my Aurora Borealis one personally, but that's just a way of doing like an ombre. I just wanted to show you how to do a different technique. So hopefully you get a better idea for a different way of using chalk. Now I just want to show you one more quick thing with chalk. Now with chalk, there are a bunch of projects out there using bubbles that I really like. I am a huge fan of bubbles, so I'm just going to show you how to draw bubbles really quick. Because they're super simple, super easy. All you're doing is layering chalk on top of each other and making circles. So this is another fun little project. If you want to use like a lid as a guide, you can. So I'm just gonna trace around my random circular object to get a nice circle. Oops, got a little paint on there. Oop. So there's my circle for my bubble. And then what you're gonna do is add highlights. Bubbles are like luminescent, kind of, in a sense, or have like luminescent colors to them. And a bunch of highlights, I feel like. Because they are clear. So bubbles are clear, so they have a little bit of that like iridescent or luminescent glow. I don't know what word I'm trying to find, but they have those highlights within them too, where they're catching the light, but also you see that oil slick around them, I feel like. Maybe that's the term I'm looking for. Those rainbow of colors, kind of like an oil slick. When I say oil slick, like you ever go to a gas station or look by a car and there's like a puddle of rainbow, that's oil. So it's like a little oil slick. So go ahead and take like another blue and just kind of highlight it on one side. And then I want you to go to another side and go again with that blue. And then using a white pastel or a white piece of chalk, I want you to go in to your bubble, make a line, and then maybe make a dot if you want. And there you go. That's a bubble too. Now bubbles are rainbow, so you can make them whatever color you like. I'm going to show you using the sidewalk chalk. So this one's a little bit of a oval-y shape. So then I'm going to go in with like a green. I feel like this one should be green. And all you're doing is just putting a streak of green. I'm putting one on this end, one on this end. Like this bubble, I did a streak on this side and a streak on that side. Kind of like parentheses, I feel like. And then using my white chalk, I'm going to do that highlight line. So I'm going to do it on the same side because that is where our light is coming from. Oh, I didn't like that one as much as I did that one, but you can do it however you want. Or say you don't want to do that little dot. Some of them don't have little dots, but you do what you want. You could just, or if you want to make it thinner, you can make it a thinner line. But bubbles are super fun to make. I love bubbles. I love making actual bubbles, and I love drawing bubbles. Bubbles are fun. I'm an adult and I still love bubbles. I will say it loud and I will say it proud. I'm an adult and I like bubbles. So if you like bubbles, welcome to the group. There we go. So that one I did a hot pink, and then I'm just doing this like lavender purple that I found. And then I'm gonna add my white little highlight. And I did them overlapping, because bubbles, they like to get everywhere. They like to overlap other bubbles, so go ahead and overlap bubbles. You can do a small bubble overlapping this one. You could do a bubble down here. Just do all the bubbles. And go ahead and use different colored chalks. Really get colorful with these. Oop, that one was a little bit bad. And make sure you get your highlight lines, because those are important. That's where the light is catching the bubble. You can do some yellow in here. You could do, I am sticking with 2 colors, but if you want to go ahead and do 3 colors, you can. I'll show you. Here's 3 colors on this bubble. So you're just layering colors on top of colors. So I hope that makes sense. All right, we are out of time. So, hello, welcome back. I hope you can see me. I hope I'm not too close. I feel like I'm too close. Oops, nope, that's even closer. Alrighty. Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope these different ways of using chalk helps you give an idea of different things that you could do. Sorry, my alarm. I hope I show you some different techniques that you could use and how to properly use some chalk around your house. Like I said, it will get messy, so just be wary of where you're working with chalk and what you're using to wipe your hands on. Make sure you're not wiping it on your clothes. It will come out of clothes. And then to coat your chalk, you could always use hairspray if you have it around the house, or you could get this low odor finish, but it has to be matte if you want it matte, but you can also get glossy, whatever your fancy is, or if you want to be fancy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're staying safe, staying clean, staying healthy, and I hope you join me next week for the next activity. I hope you really liked learning about chalk today, and I hope you guys have chalk at home so that way you could practice these different techniques. If not, you might want to go out and buy some, but I don't recommend it. Stay home if you can, but like I said, I'm trying to use materials that you might have at home. So again, I'm going to try to look at my email and see if any of you guys have listed some materials that you have at home that you can recommend for me, and I'll try to incorporate those into my projects. So I hope you had a fun time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!